Hello, hello, hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Summer Spotlight. I'm your host, Gayle Nicholson. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have got an amazing guest that I have been talking to for a number of weeks. I just absolutely love this guy's style, and he's one of the people that's like 10 steps ahead of me for doing what I do, right? Video, helping people market their businesses, that type of thing. So I really want to introduce you to him because if what I do is not a fit for you, then maybe you need to take it to the platinum level with him. So here he is, Mr. Antoine Dupree, Chief Executive Officer of Creator Source Studios. Thank you so much for joining me today, Antoine. I almost called you Andre. Okay. So, yeah, thanks for
My
joining me.
mom,
How are
funny
you? Who
story. My
are
mom
you?
wanted to name it him. I'm good, thank you. I'm fine, actually. My mom wanted to name me Reggie instead of
Really?
Antoine. So yeah, I just find that funny. My dad was the one who forced her to name me Antoine. Yeah, I thank him every day because I don't look like Reggie. So
Well,
I can't
that'd have
imagine
been
that.
an interesting name, Reggie
Hmm.
Dupree. You know, that
Yeah,
kind of
that
brings
would
up
have
its
been.
own picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would have. So I understand.
That is
But to
awesome.
further answer, now to further answer your question of who am I, because I'm
Hmm.
guessing
Yes.
that's our intro in this. I am a 26-year-old college graduate who started a production company out of college.
Hmm.
While starting this production company, I worked with a lot of other college students, and I built a team around me of, I believe, 30 produce and create weekly basis. Also, we work with creative strategy. We're getting more into clients. We're doing all this different stuff. But yeah, it's all around just storytelling and being creative as possible and changing the way the story is told.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking, if I'm not mistaken, I was looking at your website,
Mm-hmm.
and it's whew, I really love it, and I love your premise of educate, entertain, and inspire. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
really puts it all in a nutshell. That's what video is for, right?
Yes, ma'am. It
Awesome
is.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you have to remember those are the three pillars that anyone makes content for. And if you always follow along with that, you
Mm-hmm.
can never lose with whatever you're doing. There's a lot of people who have brands that they're building or have skills that they have built for themselves over time and feel like they cannot create content for their business. And I say that that is untrue because anybody can educate someone on how to do a skill, anyone can inspire others with their story, and then anyone can be entertaining as long as you're keeping that person's attention,
Mm-hmm.
you're entertaining them.
Excellent. Excellent. And
Mm-hmm.
very simple. Very simple. I love that about it.
Yes.
Now, tell us a little bit. Why is video so important for branding your business? I mean, I know businesses that can go
Mm-hmm.
completely without video, or at least think
Yeah.
they can.
Mm-hmm.
But what does video add?
We have to realize this, and this is a thing that I've learned over time, especially with working with social media platforms and working with the new technology.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the 90s anymore. This is not the early 2000s. Copy, copy as well is good. It still has traction. I'm not going to deny that copy doesn't have traction to it,
Right.
but video can immerse a potential client or a potential customer into the world and into the mind of who you are as that business owner. A lot of times when you have these small business owners, they want to build these big companies, they want to get all of these clients, they want to email, cold calls, all this different stuff. If you're putting out actionable content,
Mm-hmm.
if you're putting out actionable content and you're putting out stuff at a consistent rate that is explaining your process, that's explaining your mindset and showing exactly who you are and your knowledge, it can give you credibility and it can give you authority. Those are the two biggest things that you always need with any business that you're running. And
Absolutely.
video is the easiest way to do that. I mean, people look at resumes, people look at all this other stuff. But video is the easiest way to do that, because imagine if you were building your own, like, let's say, chiropractor practice.
Okay.
Let's say you were building your own chiropractor practice, and people wanted to know, how good of a chiropractor are you truly? What are they going to do? They're going to read Yelp reviews. They might read website reviews, stuff like that. You can read it on Google and see what people think. But wouldn't it be better if that doctor, or if that surgeon, or whoever it is that's building their own practice, if that lawyer were to talk about common questions, FAQs that people have, and make videos out of them, and show their knowledge, build their authority, show their personality, show that they're a great person, show that they're a wonderful person, and make people feel welcome.
Mm-hmm.
That can build your business tenfold.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that people don't often realize, and it's so obvious, you go, why? But, even when you're putting out Facebook posts, they suggest that you put a pretty picture there too, because that stops people and gets them to look and engage and maybe read your post. There, words flying in front of your face constantly, you tend to gloss over and just scan, right? And
yeah.
So, at least for me, with video, it's a wholesome, like a holistic picture of who that person is that you're considering doing business with. And not only do you get more in the way of what the person is, right? But also the vibe from that person. Do they seem compassionate? Do they seem like they know what they're talking about? Do they, just a whole picture, body language, voice tone, inflection, the whole 9 yards that you just can't get from reading. Well, with really good writers you can, but if you're not a really good writer, you're screwed too, right?
Yes, and because communication is key, I think people don't really understand the value of communication. Communication, because I'm actually a communication studies major at Towson. That's what my degree was in, that I graduated with. And one of the big things that I learned in like a class called organizational communication is that your organization is communication. Yeah. It is communication. And whenever you wrap your head around that and fully understand that sentence, it will launch your business further than it has ever been. It will launch your organization further than it's ever been, because communication is how you communicate with your employees, how your employees communicate back, how you create company culture, how you create client relationships. If you are not a good communicator, you're not going to create those much needed relationships that you need to make a sustainable business. Relationships and communication is probably two biggest things. That's, when you think about it, put it all together, that is business development. That's really what business development is. It's going out there and making those relationships, communicating. And if you are a failure to communicate, you will failure to really push out your message and push out what exactly you're trying to do.
Well, communication is a great point. And it kind of leads me to think about the fact that you're very, very young. I mean, by my standards, literally, you are half my age, okay? Literally. And you have this amazing business, but everybody, you don't have like a brick and mortar, and nobody's been really working in an office lately anyway. So you're making all of this work with people in, satellite working from home. How do you maintain proper communication when everybody is in their own space?
I would say one of the things that I do when you're trying to maintain proper communication with your team is you should always be readily available. I think there's a lot of leaders who think you can pop in, pop out, do really what you want to do when it comes down to communicating. No, when you're a leader, you have to be ready to communicate. It's not just about cracking your whip and saying, "Oh, mush dogs, mush, mush." No, no, that's not what you do. No, as a leader, you are there working with the rest of your crew. Yeah, I think I just blacked out real quick for 1 second.
For a second.
But I'm back.
You're good.
I'm back. All right. But when you're there, that means that you're there to work with your crew. You are working for your team. A leader is at service of their team. So you should always be readily available to them. to talk about an incident that happened recently with me and another employee. This employee was a leader in my group, and they didn't understand certain things that were going on. And see, this is where you have to really conscientiously check your own leadership real quick. Now, the conversation wasn't too favorable. I was talking to this person about an incident that happened during a meeting because I'm really good at reading people and I'm really good at telling tone. So if there's a certain tone that you're taking in a conversation, I can pick up on that and I know that there's something's wrong and we need to talk. So I talked to this person immediately off the bat. Nothing but yelling, nothing but pointing fingers, never taking any accountability for that situation. That situation. They got upset about the way I handled them handling the meetings, saying that I'm hurting their credibility as a leader. I'm hurting who they are as a leader. And here's my thing: if no one can hurt your credibility as a leader, you want to know what hurts your credibility as a leader? You not being a leader. You not being a leader. That's the thing. And when people don't look at you as a leader and they look at others as a leader, that means that there's something going on with you. First and foremost, before you blame anyone, it's kind of like when you point that finger, you have three pointed back at you. And that's telling you something. That's telling you something. That means that you need to take a long look in the mirror and just realize from there. So again, with communication is always being readily available. Having your communication channels that are clear. Me, I'm a very playful and fun and friendly person. So I like having fun with my team. I like, talking to them. We joke around and stuff like that. But when I tell you, hey, we need to get to work, we need to get to work. And if you have a problem with that, me telling you that, then you do not need to be in there. So you have to, second, know how to put your foot down on things that are non-negotiables. These are non-negotiable things that I want you to do. And having them understand their role with those non-negotiables, that's going to make everything so much better. And then I would say probably the third thing that I really do is make sure that you're showing it. You have to show it. See, communication isn't just verbal, it isn't just text, but it's also actions as well. So if you're saying that you're a leader and you're saying, hey, I want my people to respond to me and I want to build a company around the brand that I'm trying to get, you need to understand that you have to show that you're doing something. You have to to be there. Me, all the team that I have, where we at, a lot of them, they were volunteers, they're interns and stuff like that. It's volunteer work because we're still building up, we're still in startup phase, everything like that. But see, at the same time, they understand the vision. Because if you can express that vision and communicate it properly as a leader, your team is going to come together for that. Right. If you have people on your team, because this is one of the big things I would tell to my young entrepreneurs out there that want to build companies and everything like that. One of the biggest things that you're going to run into when you try to work with people is them talking about real business.
Okay.
I'm gonna use quotes of real business.
So the way you work is not a real business, right? Because
yes,
yeah, with a satellite, there's no place you have to show up at a certain time.
And it's not even that really. Most of the time when they say that, it's because they're saying that, oh, you're not paying me. Oh, is this, and this. It's not a real business. Let me explain something to you. As long as you're building something, whenever you get that first customer, it turns into a business. Even before you start getting customers, it's a business because you can go register it with the federal government, with your state's government, and have an LLC that states that you're a registered business. But furthermore, if you're in startup phase and you're not thinking about your startup as a business, then you're in trouble because of the fact that you're thinking about it as a hobby. That means you're going to dip your toe in it and you're not going to jump fully through. And that goes back into the branding stuff that we were saying before about your story. That's what you always need to express over and over and over again as a brand. And if you're not doing that, people are not going to resonate with it or anything like that. People think for you to have a business, you need to have this Fortune 500 company with all these employees, thousands of
Right.
employees. No,
Yeah.
that's not a that's but that's really what all businesses need
Well,
to
I
have.
think I think honestly, when you think about a business, right, and it's not just registering, okay, I'm now a registered business, although what you said was absolute gold. Absolute
Hmm.
gold. If you are not thinking of your business like a business, it's a hobby, period. Right?
It is
Um,
expensive hobby
yeah.
that you're spending a lot of time on, but a hobby nevertheless.
Yeah. Now I flew out of my head what I was going to say about that. Anyway, all right, then let's go back to talking about, well, no, business. Business as a culture. It's kind of like the same thing as the church, okay? You
Hmm.
can go to a church on Sunday morning to hear the minister do their sermon, right? And the building is called a church. But it's not a church until the people show up inside, really, because the people are the church. Similarly, in business, you can have a brick and mortar. It's an empty building until people show up to do work intentional to the goals that that business has, right? It's the
Hmm.
people that are the business, right? So
Yeah.
you know, that's what creates a real business. If you've got a number of people, or even just yourself, working towards fulfilling the intentions and goals of that enterprise, I don't care
Hmm.
where you do your work, I don't care what you buy or sell, you've got a business, right?
Yeah. And if you run into people who say things like, if this was a real company or if this was a real business or something, you would connect from them or have a further conversation about what are their goals for what you're trying to build here.
Excellent
Because that is
insight.
the most disrespectful thing. Yes, that's the most disrespectful thing you can tell any young startup,
Mm-hmm.
any entrepreneur, or even people that's not my age, even older than me or anything like that. That's the most disrespectful thing you can say to them, especially when they're putting their time and
Mm-hmm.
effort into it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to respect it, but you don't have to say things like that. And if somebody's a part of your team saying that, they should not be. They shouldn't be.
Right, right. Now, when speaking of, because there's so many people right now that have either taken the opportunity to launch something of their own, because
Hmm.
they don't have a day job to go back to now, right? There's so many people that
Yeah.
are really trying from like pulling themselves up by their bootstraps to create a business. And they may have a
Hmm.
similar situation to you as far as satellite team that helps, or they might just be on their own doing the best that they can. Okay. So we all know that people that are in the earlier stages are trying things out and trying new things and trying to do what they can do for free and stuff like that. But the businesses that I tend to like be attracted to are the ones that
Hmm.
have like more professionally done type stuff than just a Facebook Live or just a Zoom that they loaded up on Facebook. They want
Actually
something
added.
more polished. So
Hmm.
what is the difference between producing videos for YouTube and
Hmm.
just throwing something up there for social media?
Yeah.
Bless you.
Sneeze. My bad. Thank you. But to answer your question, there's two very variants because you have to realize it comes down to marketing too when you think about it. And this is what I feel like a lot of creatives and a lot of people who are trying to build a brand don't want to think about. You have to think about in the mind of your potential client. First, you have to realize who your potential client is. First and foremost, you have to have that iron down. What do they look like? Where do they reside? Then you decide if you want to make content on YouTube or on social media. I would say always try to make content on YouTube because YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the internet besides Google. So It's a search engine, so you should always be making content on there. Now, you can cherry pick which place on social media you want to have a presence at. So, for instance, the reason why there's a big like difference between them is that YouTube, you can make a lot of long form content on YouTube. You can make 2 minute content on YouTube. You can make an hour long content on YouTube. That is going to work a lot better than if you did it on, let's say, Instagram. On Instagram, you can do longer videos. I believe you can do between 5 to 10 minute videos on IGTV.
Mhm.
But to be honest with you, you want to keep your videos to 60 seconds on YouTube. IGTV, yes, that's a great place to be putting stuff. And if you have a good like preview, people are going to watch it, everything like that. So I would do it. But I would aim definitely for the 60-second videos, because the 60-second videos, if you can comprise what you're trying to say in those 60 seconds and keep that person's attention, they are most likely going to continue to follow you and continue to follow your journey. So the big difference between both of them is just the context. That's all it is really the context. People think it's how you chop it down. You can always chop down something into 60 seconds.
Mm.
You can always leave something long form. But the context that you're doing, you want something quick, that's on Instagram. You want something more long and drawn out and thought through and detailed, put that on YouTube. Even you can even work that on Facebook as well.
Awesome stuff. Absolutely awesome. All right. Now, it's good. Okay, first of all, they have to have their avatar. They have to know who they're talking to, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
context determines whether you're posting on social media or you're posting on YouTube or any of the other
Mm-hmm.
platforms out there. Now, when it gets into actually structuring what you want to deliver in that video, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about like including your branding? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, obviously, it seems like it's good. Are there situations you wouldn't want to?
It really depends on what kind of brand you're trying to build. I have people in the past who worked with me with one of our brands and would say, "Hey, we don't curse on there, don't talk about controversial topics and everything like that." But if you know me personally, you know that I'm not afraid to talk about controversial topics.
Right.
That's not something that I'm afraid of. So you have to realize, one, you are building a business, and what you do does affect what your business is. So if you're trying to integrate your brand into any type of video or integrate your brand message into it, I would really layer out what is your brand message, what are the themes of your brand message, and then make content that's wrapped around that. Like for instance, let's say I was Coca-Cola, which I'm not, because if I was, I'll be sitting on a beach somewhere because I'll be making all that type of money. Um, Something that you could do if you're a startup soda company who's wanting to become like a Coca-Cola or something like that. First off, people say worry about your brand colors, all this other stuff. You don't want to worry about making a logo that's going to fit. You don't want to worry about making a message that's going to fit a logo. You need to worry about making a logo that's going to fit your message. So figuring out what is your message, what kind of business are you trying to build? What is the thing? What is the reason why people should drink your soda, Gayle? Like Gayle soda. Why should somebody drink Gayle soda? Explain it to me.
Because it
Really break
tickles
it
their
down to me.
noses.
It tickles their nose. Hey, Gayle soda. It tickles their noses. There you go. Tickles their noses. And what you can do from there is you can discuss the soda making process, how you make your soda. How does your soda making process is different than everyone else's? Tickle your noses could be for like a more calorically less dense drink. So it could be 0 calorie, 10 calories, something like that. It tickles your nose because you're drinking it and you're tickling your nose. It makes you silly because you're thinking to yourself, how can something taste this good but be this low calorie? You see what I mean?
Yep, yep.
So if you're doing that, you can discuss like, hey, our process is going like this. This is what my mindset towards the soda industry was. This is what I talk to people about, making videos about that. All the questions that people, again, are going to have about your brand. How can I invest into it? What exactly are your goals? Where do you want to get to?
Hmm.
And constantly keep that goal inside of there. I'm not saying say we want to be the next Coca-Cola. You should say, hey, we want to be the next big thing in the drink industry.
Right. Right.
You should always keep that in the back of your mind. You should always say that to people. And people gonna call you crazy. So don't worry about that. People gonna call you crazy in the comment section. But in the long run, once you get everything done, it's all about building equity with your content. Because even if, let's just say you're moving slow right now because of the fact that you don't have enough money or with COVID and everything like that. So you can't really work on certain things that you want to work on for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Make content, because if you build that equity over time, once everything happens and you start selling your product, people are like, oh, where can I learn more about what you're doing? Oh, we have a YouTube channel right here with a catalog of videos that walk you through what our CEO thinks about the soda industry right now, why you should drink Gayle soda, where can you find Gayle soda,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You see what I mean? So
Yes. Yes.
if you're just doing those type of things, it can make everything else a lot better for you.
Well, how does that apply to storytelling being so important? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when I hear the word storytelling, I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
about, me talking about how I feel about my product and what inspired me to get going on it and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how can storytelling make that content better rather than just listing the answers to frequently asked questions?
Storytelling can make that better by you telling stories about, like, hey, this was the first time I realized that I wanted to build this brand. This is what was going through my head while building this brand. Or, even blogging your day-to-day process. I'm not saying show your secret sauce. That's what a lot of people might take from what I said before. No, what I'm saying is show that you're human. When you storytell, that's one of the basic forms of communication. Again, is storytelling, and that's been from the beginning of time until now. So if you storytell and you integrate into your brand, and let's say you start off with, okay, when was the first time that I wanted to do this? Why am I doing this? Why you should be a part of this? Telling a story about it. Tell like stories about, okay, whenever I was in fifth grade, I drank Coke and this changed my life. Or you could say a couple of years ago, or you could say a couple of years ago, I became a diabetic, like myself. I became type 2 diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that inspired me to, because I looked at all the options that was for diabetics to drink, stuff like that. I do want to drink water, but I want to have something that is more sweet and something that won't hurt me and stuff like that, just to drink on the downtime. I'm not saying I shouldn't drink water. I should, which I do. I got a bunch of water right there.
Right.
But I want something alternative. Water is, I don't want water all the time. So let's say I want something different with my dinner. So I looked at all the options. I saw that nothing in there was really like good for you based on all the chemicals or anything like that. So what I set out to do is to take on the challenge of building the one drink that would be good for diabetics, that won't be full of chemicals, that won't have a bad aftertaste, and that won't spike your insulin levels. And if you tell that story, a lot of people be like, "Oh, damn, I'm a diabetic too. I can, I can relate to that." And again, it comes back to relationships. You see,
Yeah.
like what we were saying
Absolutely.
before, it comes back to relationships. Storytelling helps you build communication and relationships because it makes you relatable to your audience. So if you're trying to be relatable to your audience, if you're trying to inspire other young entrepreneurs, like myself, I have a series that I'm gonna be starting pretty soon that I have done in the past called That Young Entrepreneur, where it's like a video diary, me talking about my day-to-day thoughts that are coming out about me being an entrepreneur, me building my business, the insecurities that I might feel about it, the pressures that I might feel about it, and that can make others, relate
Well,
to you.
yeah. Not even just for the potential customers, but also
Mm-hmm.
that opens up, community with other business owners that can identify with you what you're going through as well. Excellent
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Excellent
Of
stuff.
course, of course.
Now, what do you think that everybody is doing wrong right now? I mean, what are you seeing out there?
Um, Well, first off, you don't have a plan. Like the old saying goes, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. I'm probably getting the quote wrong or whatever, but it's close enough. Um, Ultimately, if you don't have a plan, you're gonna fail. And you need to have a plan with your videos. Don't go out there all willy-nilly throwing up videos all over. Learn about like the landscape. Learn about your competitors. Learn about others that are doing the same. Yeah, it just went black again, but we
I
can.
just want to acknowledge something. Antoine is not in his office space that he was in when we originally started talking. Antoine has
Hmm.
moved. So
Yes.
he's doing this from his phone in his new apartment that has no furniture. So do not
Yeah.
take the quality of this appearance as the quality of his work. It has no
Yes.
relation to each
Yes.
other.
Actually check out some of the channels and you'll see some of my work.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. That.
um, but yeah, again, it's all about just having a plan, learning about what it is that you want to see, what it is that you want to do. Ooh, even going underneath popular videos, look at the comment sections. People ask all these questions that they can't answer. Take one of those questions. If you know how to do it, make a video about it. One that I'm working on right now is called DaVinci Resolve. It's one of the software. It's one of the big softwares that's out that's free that people use to video edit. A lot of people are looking for, okay, how do I get started on DaVinci Resolve, everything like that. And I've seen like big YouTubers say I can't really get to it because of everything else. This would be the perfect time for someone like me or someone else who has experience with it. Make a video about it.
Right.
Make videos about it. As a video editor, make that. Show your experience. Again, authority, communication, relationships. Those are the themes that are coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
It builds your authority. Video does that. Video will always build your authority. And we're all content creators all together. I was speaking with Heather Torres on Mad Talk. Definitely check out my Mad Talk channel. Link in
Absolutely.
the, we're
Yep.
gonna do that.
That's good stuff.
Anyway, anyway.
Seriously, that is good stuff.
Hmm. Heather Torres. She's from Think Media, one of the biggest YouTube channels online that talks about YouTube strategy and how to market your YouTube channel and how to build it. She was saying we're all content creators. When you get on your phone and you do something on Snap stories or Instagram stories or post something on there, regardless of what it is, it doesn't have to be video, it's content.
Right.
It's content. Whatever you're posting, it's content. And then let me show, and I'm even release something for you guys now. You're all copywriters. You all have copywriting skills.
Yeah.
You're writing copy. You're writing copy. When you put a post and then you write like a big paragraph telling somebody something, that is known as copy. I know it's like layman's term explanation of what copywriting is, but that is known as copy.
Yeah. And what people don't seem to realize from that is the definition of sales copy, because you are trying to convince someone else that your point of view is they should be aligned with.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Y'all all are sales copiers. I'm like, yo, y'all all in the wrong business. To be honest with you, every single one of y'all are in the wrong business. I'm like, bro, you're a doctor. Look at all this stuff you just wrote on here, man. Take your ass on down the road, man. Excuse me. Excuse me.
No, that's
Excuse
fine.
my language.
It's fine. That's absolutely fine. So tell us, what's coming up for you? What's on the horizon with all of the COVID stuff and the stuff that you're working on? What can you what is your goal for the next year in business? It'll be
My
what,
goal
year
for the
three?
next yes, it'll be year three for us. My goal for the next year of business is just to expand and build my brand. I think something that COVID has taught us is that you cannot plan for the future.
Mm.
You can plan for what you're doing right now, but you can't really plan for 5, 10 years down the road anymore. I think people aren't going to trust that anymore. And there was a lot of entrepreneurs preaching about this before
Mm-hmm.
COVID, and people didn't believe them. But now I think everybody's going to believe them now, and everybody's going to take what they're saying. So again, my biggest thing is just building as much content as possible and making sure that I'm putting out a consistent message with everything that I do. Going from there, we want to get into more client work. I want to bring in this many clients. I want to do stuff like that. I want to help other business owners who don't know how to really convey what their experience is, what their business is. I want to help them be able to do that with video where they can be proud of what they have and be proud of the marketing that they're putting out. So that's my goal, is just to help as many people as possible with content or even with being my client.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Now, do you have any
Mm-hmm.
final words for us, for the audience, before we shut this down for the day?
The only thing I would say is definitely watch this summer spotlight series, because we had some great people on here. I'm saying we, but you had some great people on
Yeah,
here, and
you are the support
it's
at my back, honey. You are in it.
yes.
You're a part of this.
Definitely check out the other episodes. For me, check out Creator Source Studios on YouTube. We have a bunch of different YouTube channels going, ranging from Nerd with Project Nerd channel, all the way to music production with my Creator Scope channel. So we work on a lot of great content. We're doing a lot of great things. And for me, we are making the way to what future of the media is going to be, in my opinion. And we're even working on a Defining Beauty series with Gayle herself, which we're going to be getting into. So that's going to be
Oh,
very
I
cool
got
as well.
all
So,
kinds of information for that one. I was researching
mm-hmm,
today on some of the things that women have done for the sake of
mm-hmm.
beauty that have ended up killing them over the years.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
And
yeah,
we're
I'm
going to get
looking
into
forward
it.
to that. Awesome.
We're going to get into it.
Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Antoine. Thanks for being my guest today. Thank you for the light that you bring into the world and all of the stuff that you were doing to help businesses make it through the chaos and confusion this pandemic has caused. Have a great
Mm-hmm.
week. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. So we're good?
When you open your energy, work makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life?